I just watched Spazz Drilly, right?
Before Spazz Drilly would become one of the deadliest drill rappers of all time, he was born to Boo Harris sometime in the year 2001. He grew up on the G-side neighborhood of the Bronx, which may be a small place relatively speaking, but it sure does have a ton of violent gangs occupying its streets. I mean, after all, everyone from the Bloods to the Crips to the YGs claim a piece of turf somewhere in that area. It was on these tension-filled streets that Taboo began going by his earliest nickname, Spazz Jet, while repping the Bloodhound Brims, a blood set that operates under the New York Brim Army. Back in the not-so-distant past, the Bloodhound Brims were one of the most vicious gangs in the city, but in 2019, they'd see a number of their members convicted on charges of racketeering, drugs, and weapons charges. Spazz joined their ranks sometime shortly before that, around the age of 17, after already having earned himself a reputation as a hothead around G-side, someone willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. When his good friend Dumb Out, aka Damian Gilbert, who Spazz not only grew up alongside, but also reportedly once jumped Lil TJ with, invited him to officially become part of the Brims, Spazz was only all too happy.
Oh, where is they getting this information from? Yo, I haven't heard no one speak on that shit, bro. What the fuck?
AKA Damian Gilbert, who Spazz not only grew up alongside, but also reportedly once jumped Lil TJ with, invited him to officially become part of the Brims. Spazz was only all too happy to sign up. Unfortunately, shortly thereafter, Damian was tragically stabbed to death at a Memorial Day cookout in 2018, after getting into an argument with a rival op over a game.
NYPD from the 52nd precinct say that's when they found the 18-year-old man who had been stabbed in the chest. He was rushed to Montefiore Hospital with life-threatening injuries and died a short while later.
It was after his good friend's passing that Spazz broke away from the Bloodhound Brims to start his own crew in Damian's honor. He called this new set Drillies, and they'd later cross over with the YGs to form the super gang, the Drilly Gs. You know, kind of like when Chris Cornell came together with discarded members of Rage Against the Machine to form Audio Slave, only, you know, a little bit more violent. Spazz's original intent for the Drilly Gs was to have them functioning as a music collective, not a gang. At least that's the story he always went with. When in reality, he probably was just using the cover of music to legitimize his less than legal activities. In fact, soon after their formation, the cops almost immediately classified the Drilly Gs as a street gang because of the record a mile wide that they had in regards to Spazz's former criminal activities and associations. It was around the formation of the Drilly gang that Spazz began releasing music for the first time as well. He dropped a few tracks in the late 2010s with names like Ready or Not and Get Back, but it wouldn't be until his 2020 single, Bunny Hop, that he really left a mark on the industry. For those of you keeping track at home, that means this dude dropped his first big hit months before other artists like Shy EK, K-Flock, and B-Love would release their first singles. Of course, with all that bad blood out there in the Bronx streets, it didn't take all that long for these dudes to start dissing one another. For instance, Spazz dropped a track titled Op Spotter in 2020, which went after all the Drilly gang's perceived enemies, including K-Flock and B-Love, who would themselves hit back with a remix of the same track. In the remix version, there were lyrics like, "Don't bunny hop, you get shot on the spot," and all too soon, those violent words would turn into deadly action. In July of 2020, a young man who went by the name of James Rivera was shot and killed on East Gun Hill Road in the Bronx. An alleged Crip and DOA member, local police were immediately suspicious that James's death was a result of gang violence and retaliation. Reports would reveal in the moments leading up to his death that Rivera was arguing with 3 individuals before shots rang out. Over a dozen bullets were fired, and the police reportedly even ran out of evidence markers because there were so many shell casings littered across the ground once they arrived on the scene. It wasn't immediately clear who had perpetrated the crime, and it would remain that way for a couple of weeks. Then, in August, the NYPD announced that they had arrested Spazz Drilly and charged him with the crime. They also arrested 3 other men and charged them with Rivera's murder as well. Following his arrest, we didn't hear much about Spazz outside of the occasional plea by his former associates in the Drilly gang to free Spazz.
You know, you mentioned before that when he got locked up, you had to hold it down. Is that the reason why you felt like you had to rap to kind of carry on the legacy?
Spazz's legacy can't go to waste.
Yeah.
It can't. He really did legendary for this. No, feel me? A lot of like D-Thing made drill rap lit, but Spazz started that. Like,
yeah, kicked the door down.
Like, then, 2 years later, in August of 2022, 20 other alleged members of the Drilly gang, all of whom had carried out crimes in the community for a period of at least 4 years, were arrested in a massive takedown.
18 guns are off the streets and 20 people are now facing charges in the aftermath of the NYPD's Operation Drilly investigation.
These are the trigger pullers, the very few individuals that make it uncomfortable and downright dangerous for all the great people in our community.
Known as Operation Drilly, after the bust, Spazz was soon welcoming many of his former associates to Rikers Island, where all of them are now awaiting trial on murder and racketeering charges. Other crimes that the Drillies are being charged with include the shooting and death of a young woman named Delilah Vasquez in March of 2021. Delilah didn't have any known gang affiliations, although she was a close friend of the up-and-coming rapper D-Thing. Her murder was only one of many crimes that the Drilly gang reportedly got up to in 2021. While their leader was locked up. Other charges are said to include injuring 3 innocent bystanders while attacking an op on DeKalb Avenue in June of that year, as well as the attempted murder of a man in a barbershop a few months later in October. And if all this external conflict wasn't already bad enough, the Drillies have also fallen into infighting over the recent months. Only a few months ago, Say Drilly would hop on the Instagram to let everyone know he wasn't a Drilly any longer. Why? Because as far as he's concerned, he's now the top Drilly. That's why. Say Drilly would then take things a step further by dissing Spazz on Instagram, by saying, respectfully, Spazz is a nobody to me. I don't give a fuck about that. He then listed a bunch of other former associates that he would like to see freed, with Spazz notably not making a cut. Spazz would respond, or at least have someone on the outside to respond for him, by posting a message to Instagram insinuating that Say Drilly is not a real Drilly member at all. So it seems like even though he's locked up right now, Spazz is still trying to control the situation and let everyone know that no one else but him is the top member of the Drilly gang. As for how Spazz's trial is going to turn out, I mean, honestly, who knows? By all accounts, it's going to be a very long time before this massive indictment works its way through the US legal system. But Spazz and his former associates are looking at some very serious charges that could equal to some very serious time served, should they come out on the wrong side of things. In fact, if Spazz is convicted on either conspiracy or murder charges, he's probably going to wind up spending his entire life in prison. The question is, after playing a crucial part in kicking off the Bronx drill wave, has it already passed Spazz by? Will he ever get a chance to prove himself again? And better yet, does he even deserve it? We're just gonna have to wait and see. I mean, after all, this has been before they were famous. Thank you everybody for watching today's video. Please be sure to let us know what your thoughts are on Spazz Drilly's story in the comments down below. Do you think he's innocent, or should this dude never see the light of day again? Let us know, and once you're finished with that, please subscribe, turn on your notifications, all that good stuff to make sure you never miss a new episode. And if you'd like to check out a few other entries in our series before heading out, then search for our looks into the come-ups of Nas EVK, D Block Europe, and Dream Doll. My name is Clyde Smith, and I'll see you guys in another video.
Nah, bro. That's crazy, bro. Spazz really started this shit and never got to see the same success that people like K-Fly, B-Love, and D-Thing did, bro. But like, I'm like, Leisurely was just saying that Spazz shit couldn't go to waste, then he gets locked up, and then Sage really, like, it's like crazy, bro, how, like, I don't know, bro. Spazz is locked up and still trying to control shit like they said, but it's like, bro, you feel me? When you don't got your freedom, it's gonna be tough. Like, I know he started this shit, but it's like, bro, it's super hard when you got 3 blocks linked up, and you feel me, trying to control all that shit. I don't know, bro.